Thank you, Zach, and all the organizers for inviting me to give a taste of my project, Revisiting the Right to Stay Vietnamese Migrants in Germany, 1978 through 2000. My name is Paige Newhouse, and I'm in my final year of the doctoral program in history at the University of Michigan. At the center of Cold War divisions in both Europe and Southeast Asia, as well as the post-1989 moment, Vietnamese citizens arrived in the FRG as students and refugees, came to the GDR as employees, stayed in the newly unified Germany as unwanted migrants and asylum seekers, and finally traveled from East Central Europe and Eastern Europe, as well as Vietnam in the 1990s, to Germany as undocumented migrants. Their stories contribute a powerful insight into the regimes of control that leaders and other authoritative figures imposed on migrants across three different Germanys. They also reveal how migrants circumvented laws and regulations, as well as challenged the physical and invisible borders that were continuously constructed and redrawn by Germans in charge. Regardless of how German leaders categorized them, Vietnamese migrants saw themselves differently and quickly learned how to navigate changing social, political, and legal landscapes. Through the history of Vietnamese migration, Revisiting the Right to Stay ties the development of migrant labor, asylum politics, and human rights in the FRG to the legacies of foreign labor in the GDR. Tracing how Germans came to replace the Iron Curtain with a fortress Europe to control migration, it makes three interventions. First, I show how both Germans and Vietnamese used what I call bureaucratic federalism to create the outcomes that they desired. Just as West German politicians used bureaucracies to stall on their commitments to grant Vietnamese refugee status in the 1970s, Vietnamese laborers in the former East used bureaucracy to stay by suing for longer-term residence permits or asylum, a strategy that bought many time in the country. Second, I locate the continuities and discontinuities in racism and racially motivated violence before and after 1989. Here, I reveal how the dissolution of one state and the imposition of another mark an important rupture in how migrants experienced structural racism in the East. Finally, this dissertation explores the legacies of socialist labor programs in post-unification Germany. Revisiting the Right to Stay employs sources in both Vietnamese and German. Specifically, I examine bureaucratic communications, legal proceedings on asylum cases, and factory records alongside newspapers and letters. Importantly, I also interviewed members of the Vietnamese German community in Berlin and collected oral histories from archives across Germany to recover some of the voices lost in written materials. Juxtaposing archival documents with the testimony of Vietnamese Germans, I practice the models of recovery that historians argue are necessary for showing the importance of lived experiences. Thank you.